Hello and welcome back, my partners in crime. Welcome back to Murder Analysed for Case 3 of our Missing Persons Christmas Appeal. Now, today's case is the Claudia Lawrence case. Now, Claudia was 35-year-old and she was a university chef from York, England, and disappeared around, and I'm saying around, the March 19th, 2009. So again, older case. There's some issues in this case, but we'll go into them. So North Yorkshire Police believe that she was murdered, but her body has never been found. So again, with this missing person, we are looking, without a doubt, in this case, for a body. Very sad to say it, but yes. And the body has been quite difficult to find at this, up until now. We're what, 2025 now. So 2009. Shocking, really. Anyway, so no one has been charged. People have been questioned within this, but no one has actually been charged in connection with her disappearance. And this is probably one of the UK's most known case and discussed case for many, many reasons. So last known movements of Claudia. So Claudia was last seen on Wednesday, the 18th of March, 2009. In the morning, she worked her shift at the university in Goodrick College and finished around 2 p.m. in the afternoon. She was seen on CCTV by a neighbour walking back towards her home in Heworth Road, and a college gave her lift part way back. So he didn't drop her off right at the door, or they didn't drop her off right at the door, halfway back, and she would have gone the rest. In the evening, she spoke to her father Peter, her mother Joan, on the phone at around 8:40 p.m. Right, so we know she was alive then. She just discussed mundane things, really, like there was no issues with her. She had no, wasn't intending to run away or anything else. She'd done her shift, everything, just topics like Mother's Day that was coming up, TV shows, and she sent her last text message at 8:23 p.m. and received an incoming text at 9:12, but it was unknown if that text had been read or not. So really, 8:40, we know she was talking to her mother, PM, and father, and at 8:23, so before she was talking to her mother, she had sent a text with a receiving text coming back at 9:12, unknown if that was read. The next morning, she was due to begin work at 6 a.m. shift the next day, Thursday the 19th of March, and planned to walk approximately 3 miles to her work as her car had been in the garage, but she never arrived. Right, so she would normally drive. At this point, she had no car. 3 miles isn't too bad, to tell you the truth, to walk, 6 a.m. in the morning, though, there's a lot of traffic around, a lot of people around, and she never made it. So her phone activity, her mobile phone, was deliberately switched off at 12:10 p.m. on March the 19th. So, connecting to the mast, really in her area where she lived. So, suggesting that she remained at least in the radius of her home at that time of night. So this case, before I go on with this case, I need to talk to you about when we look at missing persons cases. So say you ring up about someone like Claudia and they can't find her. So at first it looks like it's a missing person. It goes over the stuff I say, like whether the person, had faults to run away, or was there any issues why she had run away. When that sort of comes clear that that's not the case, a full-on investigation then has to happen, right? Because you're looking at abduction, or you're looking at murder, you're looking at different stuff here. When a girl like a 35-year-old has no reason to leave her home herself, doesn't take anything with her, is just literally vanished without a trace. The police then start to investigate, and what they start to have to do is to go into every aspect of your life, right? Every aspect of it, because they need to know about your life to see who the suspect pool is. Is there something in your life or someone in your life that would harm you in any way or want to harm you in any way? So they look at your job, they look at the people you work with. Now, she worked in the university, lots of people around there. We have lots of people from all over the world around there as well. So that is a big pool of suspects itself, right? But she had finished work, she had gone home. She was due to go back into work, but did she meet someone at that job? So that's sort of how the investigation starts. Then, though, the investigation has to go into every single aspect of your life, right? Things that you thought would be private, things that you hoped would keep private, things that your parents didn't know, probably that your best friends didn't know. Now your whole life is under a magnifying glass, and everything about you, good and bad, comes out. Now the issue is why I think this case has not been solved as such, is because of the suspect pool is so large. Because Claudia was a 35-year-old single woman, well-educated, privately educated woman with a career, an active sex life, right? We have to be honest here, and I don't mean any derogatory faults around this, but when we look into missing people, this is what comes out. So she did have an active sex life, she was seeing people, she was also seeing married people. So there then becomes a pool of people, right? Because now you've got the people you work with, right, that could have done something to you. People in your university, many of them, thousands, that could be watched you, seen you, followed you home, all this sort of stuff going on, right? It could have been someone you know intimately because you've had such an active sex life around this area, this period of your life, and good for her, right? No judgment here. She was seeing married men. Now there alone comes in issues, right? Because married men are by nature, aren't they, deceitful, right? So are married women, if they do it. They're deceitful. Also, married men or married women that are having affairs have an affair because they like to have the best of both worlds, right? They don't want to lose what they've got. So they want you, but they also want the girlfriend, you know, and everything else that goes with it. So a lot of these married men were older. So what they would lose if it came out, I suppose, and this is only a theory, right, is that they would lose their marriage, their homes, their money, their reputation, right? Could even lose their job, right? There's lots of issues here. But then what comes along with the married affairs stuff comes the partner's friends. So this now suspect pool that should have been quite small, right, now becomes very large. Now it is massive. So the police investigation was over, you know, coming up with all this stuff that they'd searched. This is their job, right? If you go missing and your family want you found, they have to go through all this stuff because someone within your mix may have wanted to do you harm for one reason or another. So this is why this case is a complicated case for police to investigate, because of the suspect pool is massive, right? It's massive. Did she know her killer? We don't know, right? It has also been mentioned within this case about her, a man called Christopher Halliwell. Now, I've done Christopher cases before, right? Nasty, nasty piece of work. Serial killer, without a doubt. But the thing is with Claudia is that no one can find her body. Now, Christopher Halliwell, he's a killer, right? An apex killer, a predator of women, without a doubt, right? If you're in his sights, you ain't getting away. No matter what, you ain't getting away. So their theory is, right, because this is all there is theories, that he operated about 40 miles away, maybe a bit longer, from the area of York where she lived. He was a taxi driver, right? So I'm not saying it's not him, but there is issues around it being him. Most killers like him don't really need to leave their areas. He was a taxi driver, so he could have got a fare that took him that far. You just never know. And spotted her, but she had done her last call and stuff from home. She wasn't wandering the streets, was she? Halliwell likes to take from the streets. Now, Halliwell is also a killer that you have some killers, as we spoke about before, that dispose of bodies in an area where they like to go back and, remember, relive what they've done. Halliwell isn't like that at all. He's really not. He sort of disposed of bodies in the same area, but usually they wouldn't be buried because he wouldn't waste his time, to tell you the truth, on burying anyone. He literally just threw them over sort of gullies and stuff and left them. So that's another reason why I'm not sure if Halliwell would have done it, right? One, because the area isn't the area he worked in. Two, that body would have been found by now, right? He may have drove her maybe back more, that area of it was him. But, and he would never say, I'll tell you that now, he won't get nothing out of that man. So that's another pool of people, right, that we can say has to be added to the pool of suspects from who she knew, right, or worked with, lived near. It could have been a neighbour, it could have been anybody. As I always say, abductions like this are rare, right? They are. Mainly these sort of abductions like this where you cannot find the body at all. Seems to me that it's someone she knew, right? So what would be the motive then? If it was Halliwell, right, Christopher Halliwell, you can look at some of his cases on there, he's absolutely terrible. The motive would have been sexually motivated. That's it. He would abduct and kill, right? That's what he does, really, and he's good at it, right? He's good at it. He's been charged for a couple, but really, he's done a lot more. So I'm not saying it's not him. So that would have been the motive there. So what would have been the motive for somebody else then? The married man could have been a motive. Didn't want to get caught. Maybe she wanted more. It happens. And he had to get rid of her. There's that. She saw an older gentleman. Was one of them jealous that she was seeing other people? Right? There's so many scenarios here that could have happened to this girl to make her a victim, because there's so many different motives it could be. This is what makes this case difficult. I think she was probably dead within the first 2 hours of being taken. Really, I think she probably knew the person, either went to meet him or in that area, maybe gone downstairs, or she had let somebody in. I think that's all it can be with her. But let's get back to this case. So the investigation, the key issue says the case was initially treated as a missing person inquiry, but was upgraded to a murder investigation in April 2009. That's quite quick, really, to change from that. So initial errors. The initial police response was heavily criticised by the family for being slow, as police did not immediately treat it as an abduction and seal off the areas, considering that she likely left voluntarily. Well, the thing is, if she went missing at night and stuff, she didn't turn up for work the next morning, that gives someone quite a long time, because every second matters in this sort of stuff. So, she was a 35-year-old woman who had a career and stuff, and she didn't turn up for work, so there would have been suspicion there. It takes a long time, or a good few days, to start an investigation where you're looking at scenarios and what could go on. And as I said, as the investigation took it's got its teeth into this. Lots of stuff come out which made this case massive for the police to investigate. And I always say, when you are looking for a body, you are looking for a needle in a haystack. Really, it's that difficult. And yes, we have got CCTV of her, and that was the last one of her, but other than that, there is nothing. Gone. She's just gone. So the complexity of this case is the private life. The part of the investigation focused on Claudia's personal life, including a series of covert relationships with men, of whom were married, right? As I said to you, makes it very difficult. Detectives believe that this aspect of her life holds the key to her disappearance. Yeah, I agree. Halliwell, as I said, Christopher Halliwell, well, it could have done it. People have wrote books on it, sold books on it. He could have done it. But it's not his MO, right? It's really not. It's too far out of his comfort zone. The body would have been found by now because he doesn't give a shit. So yeah, I do think it's someone she knows, and it's probably something to do with her personal life. So let's talk about the lack of evidence now. There was no signs of a struggle at her home, right? So we know she'd done the checks in and all that. So if there's no struggle in that home, she's either let somebody in or she's left that home willingly to go and meet someone. And the reason I think she went to meet someone, because ladies, right, if we were going out and, you're going to somebody else's property and you're going out or you're going to do something, you take your hair straighteners, don't you? They've never found her hair straighteners, they've never found her keys, they've never found her phone, the rucksack she used for work. Yeah, definitely the hair straighteners were gone. So despite really intensive forensic searches, including draining the fishing lake, which they've done, gravel pits, and they was done in 2021, no significant physical evidence of her body has ever been found. Listen, ladies, right? Hair, makeup, you've got a few fellas on the go, right? One's rung you up, right? He's not pissed off of you in any way. You trust him. You pack your little rucksack because you know you're going to work the next morning, right? You think, okay, I'll go and spend the night with him then. He must be free, right? You pack everything you need, including your hair straighteners, and you're out the door. But I think what Claudia didn't understand was that night, the person that she probably trusted was the person that killed her. For some unknown reason, she was murdered very, very quickly, and her body was dumped. So I think this is planned, and this is why it's very difficult to find this girl's body. So the police over the years, since 2009, have made, or this is North Yorkshire Police, have made sort of arrests, questioned people, local men, 50-year-old plus, because I think she did like older men, 50 years plus and stuff, who sort of frequented the same pub as her and stuff. So she was, they are focusing on certain people, but as I said, the pool of suspects is massive, so it's very difficult to pinpoint, and no one's coming forward to admitting this. There's no body, so if there's no body, it's very difficult then to trace back, what could have happened. So really, people were charged or arrested for it, but the Crown Prosecution Service didn't have enough evidence to continue on with the charges, and I think it was against 4 men were considered as main suspects in 2016, and really nothing since then, because if there's no evidence, there's no physical evidence of her, there's no body of her, there's no DNA evidence of them or anyone else, where'd you go? How do you solve a case? So until you find that body, it's going to be very difficult, really, very difficult. Senior investigative officers have repeatedly stated their belief that people in the local community are withholding key information due to this misguided loyalty or fear. Well, I always say, don't I, about the local community. Gossip, right? Gossip this is what these police officers need to do, is put some undercover ones in there. Really, literally, I'm telling you, get the gossip. Because where there is gossip, there is some truth. And there is always someone that knows what happened here. Always someone that knows. So whether they think that their loyalty is misguided, these people, or they think they're doing it out of fear, who are these people then? Who are they that they are fearful of? These local people. 35-year-old girl, sexually active, multiple men, married men as well. It's a nightmare, this case, for that reason alone. So I think let's rule out Halliwell, and because I think there's a lot more suspects within this local area, and I don't think that she would be buried that far, to tell you the truth, if these are not killers or not in the criminal world. This body would be probably 5 miles, 10 miles at the most radius from her home. That's where it would be someone quick. And what they really should be focusing on, if they do believe that these people have done it, is where they like to locally go. Their history. Look at them through, not a criminal history, what they like to do, where they like to go. They might find a body then. So Claudia's father, Peter Lawrence, now he died in 2021 without knowing what happened to his child. Terrible thing. And I always say this about all these cases that we do. There's always someone left behind. Now, Peter Lawrence, he was a solicitor, a very good one actually, and very respected solicitor. And really, when you think of you've lost your child and you've fought for years to find your child, find something on your child, and in the end you die before you know what really happened or the body's been found. It's quite sad, really. Now, he campaigned tirelessly to change the law to help families manage financial affairs of their missing loved ones. This resulted in the Guardianship Missing Persons Act 2017, which is a really good act because, as you can imagine, you have assets now. So not only do the police go into your life, you also have a home, you have savings, you have this, you have that, and after so many years, the mortgage will still have to be paid and everything else, and they sort of looked after that. So this girl went missing in 2009, and this man fought for this guardianship, not only for her to help deal with her assets and her stuff, but also that others in the same position can use this law to help them, because the stress alone of trying to find your child is overwhelming, and then you have to have all this financial stuff as well. So the Guardian Missing Persons Act 2017 came into force in 2019. So from then on, if you were unfortunate to be in a position like this, that your family then could help and deal with your assets for you. It's called Claudia's Law. It's known as Claudia's Law, but it is the Guardianship Missing Persons Act 2017. So this case remains reactive, right? Now, reactive means, yes, it's open, right? But it's not active constantly. It's not constantly being investigated full time, but when new credible information comes in, then the police act on that, right? So it's like on pause. Resources with the police, and when we look at missing persons, and when we talk about these sort of missing persons where they are without doubt been murdered, and you're looking for a body, everything else has been dealt with, and they've gone through everything, right? This case was thorough. They've gone a slow start, yes, but in the circumstances I can understand that. But then it really kicked off, and it was thoroughly done, this case. So I think they've gone as far as they can go until more credible evidence. So why we do these cases is, if you are one of these local people, you feel you have misplaced or loyalty, because you wouldn't think it's misplaced, where you are hiding a secret from the police in any information that would be able to solve this case, right? Listen, even an anonymous tip of where the body is would do, wouldn't it? Because her mother's still alive. So if you are in fear, I always say that loyalties change, Loyalties change. I don't know how people can look at themselves in the mirror, if you know anything about a murder of a young girl like this, 35-year-old, educated, nice girl. Okay, she had an active sex life, which maybe you didn't agree with, and that you thought that's maybe why she deserved to die, right? It is not, because no one deserves to die, because what they do. No one has the right to take someone's life. So if you are this misguided person that thinks you're doing the right thing by covering up for God knows who, Tom, Dick or Harry, right? Come forward. Do it anonymously. Tell them where the body is. Tell them what you know. And if you are fearful, right, don't be. Don't be fearful. You should never be fearful, because while you'll keep holding that secret, you're the only one that's creating yourself fear, really. So that was my advice to anybody that has any information on any of the cases that we're doing today. Whether you're holding back information because you're loyal to someone or because you don't want to get someone into trouble. You may have an idea, the gossip going around, oh, I better not say, because in case, just in case. Well, no, there ain't just an in case. The in case is that we want this girl's body found. 2009, we're now in 2025, and not a soul. So that would be my advice to you, right? To anybody that has information. Don't hold on to it. Let it go. And then, hopefully, once they found that body, the rest will take care of itself. So the case, I suppose, when we look at the facts, this case, she was born on the 27th of February 1974, a 35-year-old chef from the University of York, and it was Goodrich College that she worked in. So anyone who knew there, knows anything, come forward. Was last seen leaving Heworth, York. She was later spotted near her home, spoke to both her parents on the phone in that evening. Despite appearing in good spirits, she failed to report to work the next day. I still say though, right, as women, listen, who doesn't take their straighteners and their makeup and their phone, right? She left her property willingly to meet someone, to stay over somewhere. She did, or that's what she was told. And it is that person that she left with all her stuff, her rucksack filled with her straighteners and everything, to meet, is the person that killed this girl and dumped this body somewhere that no one can find. So that's how blatant this killer is. She liked him. She must have. She trusted him. She must have. She got in the car with the bag, with the straighteners, with everything, to go to work the next morning, believing that that's what she was going to do. But he didn't think that. This was planned, this. And so would the dump site be planned. So he knew by picking her up before 12, right, because we know that the mask was in that area at 12 something in the evening, right? He knew he had at least 6 hours. That's a lot of time before this girl was due to go to work and then be reported missing, probably by 8 o'clock, right? So 6 to 8 hours gap. He's got a head start of 6 to 8 hours. You can do a lot in 6 to 8 hours. This case is, I believe, a very sad case, right? We've had Peter Lawrence now, who's died without knowing about his daughter. We've had a girl that was, a nice girl, murdered, disposed of, but we still have a killer out there. Now, if this person can do this to Claudia Lawrence, he could do it to anyone. He could do it to anyone, because I think it's quite clear that they were in a relationship. So I don't know the motive, I'd like you to tell me what you think the motive is. He had, but obviously he didn't want to lose something. Maybe she wanted more than he was willing to give. Right? I don't know. It could have been anything. But I personally would rule out Christopher Halliwell without a doubt. I would. It's not his sort of, murdering, taking her, killing her, dumping her, absolutely, right? But she would have been found. And it wasn't his area. So I know a lot of people have put him in the frame for it, and I'm not saying it's not him, but I'd say I would be unlikely to put him up on the frame. This is a local person that knew her. She would not have known Christopher Halliwell. She would not. So if she was abducted, it would have been on the street or walking home late at night. That's where she would have been abducted if it was Christopher Halliwell. This girl did not mix with people like Christopher Halliwell. Absolutely not. This girl was taken by someone she knew, which makes this case even more difficult to find a body because of the about 6 to 8 hours gap, the head start and the planning that this killer already had. So I really hope that one day we find her body, because then maybe we may find her killer. And this girl's killer needs to be caught, because I'm telling you, if you can do that to someone you're meant to care about, you can do it to anybody. So this has been Case 3. And, bit controversial, I know, but when we talk about missing persons, we have to talk about all their life, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, because we're trying to find who did it, right? Who abducted this girl, who murdered this girl. So I mean no disrespect to anyone in anything I've said in these videos, but the truth must always come out, because it is a truth maybe that maybe just save, right, someone else from getting murdered like this girl, but also it may just find her killer. So never hold back. And I agree with the police that they done a thorough investigation here into her background, because it needed to be done. It needed to be done. And it is probably one of them in that suspect pool of her lovers or married or whatever pool of people that have done this crime. But allegedly, right? Because I don't know, because no one knows, do we? We don't know what happened to her. The only person know what happened are the killer and Claudia herself, and Claudia can no longer speak. So thank you for watching. Until the next case. Now the next case is the Springfield 3. So thanks for watching. See you tomorrow with Case 4. Bye.